Hey, it's Monday. We're live, and I am back in Arizona, just kind of hanging out now. It was a fun week up in Illinois, hanging out. We did a bunch of good stuff with Rob. We didn't film as much as I would hope, but it happens. But if I'm correct, Rob might be unveiling the fact that his car is done. If I don't know, I mean, depends on what he wants to do to it. But for the most part, I believe it's running right now. If not, at least it's ready to go. He's got to do a little bit of things here and there for it. We'll see. Malice, what are you doing? You can't have those. Stop. Anyway, but yes, so we're just kind of waiting on Rob because he takes forever. That's how it goes. Why? Why are you doing that? The cat is deciding to climb behind the computer right now, and last time she did something like that, she decided to break my TV. So that's why I'm like, Malice, come on, out of there. Oh, there's Rob. There's Robert. Stop with the moving.
Yo, what's up, man?
What's going on? She's behind the computer. I don't know.
Malice.
Ooh.
Not a whole lot, buddy. Not a whole lot. Just hanging out in the garage.
Yeah. So I was telling everyone that your car is running.
It is running.
Okay.
Jay, one of our group members, he actually took a video of me. I drove around the block.
Hmm.
You know, it's up and running, and it's. I gotta say, I'm absolutely ecstatic. She's fired up. She's running.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
the only thing that I saw on, what was it, yesterday? What? Well, yeah, I think it was yesterday. It was you guys cranking it, and it didn't crank over. But
Oh yeah, I was building up oil pressure, and he took a quick video of the DSM just cranking up, and just getting ready to get it started. But yeah, we built up oil pressure, we threw some gas in it, and it fired up. It was magical. It was pretty
that's awesome.
magical.
That's awesome. That's got to be a good feeling.
It was, but at the same time, I was so nervous. Like
Oh,
I
of
was
course.
just. I mean, Jay is in the garage helping me out, and he's like, "Come on, man, we're almost there. We got it." And I'm just like, I'm sweating. My heart's just beating out of my chest, and
Well,
I'm
yeah,
just
but I
so
mean,
nervous that something is gonna go bad, something's gonna go
and
wrong. But yeah, it
and
just
that's the exact time when something does go wrong because you overlooked something.
right. Well, it's
'Cause-
been 5 years I've been working on this car,
and
and to actually
geez,
started
yeah.
it up and had it running. So Jay will be posting the video soon. He said it was just a little too long to post, but he's getting that together for us. So
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, like I mean, you're so close to being done, so you're just like, all right, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, and then something simple gets overlooked, and now it's toast again. So
right.
yeah,
Right.
that's when it's the final stretch like that is the when you need to be the most vigilant on what you're doing because the littlest thing that you miss that that you don't you overlook something and then next thing you know you're back to no car.
Right. Right. Just absolutely anything, a little loose bolt or something here and there. I mean, look, it definitely had, a few little things here and there
Right.
that we had to take care of. It's been so long. It's a first startup, so you get in
Mhm.
there. So for any of you guys that are joining us live, thank you so much. Make sure to share this out and post your questions. If you have questions about my DSM, the setup, what it took
Yeah.
to get it running
Yeah.
and all that stuff, today's the
Definitely.
day.
Yeah. It's because you're so excited to talk about it. So
I am stoked. It was, I gotta tell you, man, it was weird driving around the block, especially because I've been driving my Fiat for so long, and it's stick shift. This is stick shift, of course, and the clutch in this is a racing clutch, so I mean, it's heavy, heavy, heavy. And so going from this and then back into my Fiat was like, dude, what happened to the clutch? There's no feel to it
well
anymore.
that and it's also got to be a big difference for the fact that I mean you're driving the Fiat all the time. I mean, how much do you drive the the other one, the other car.
How
Like
much do I drive the?
the SUV you guys have.
Oh, barely at
Yeah.
all. That's
So I
the
mean,
wife drives that all the time, so I barely
so
drive it.
you're so used to the little car, and now all of a sudden you're in something that's bigger than that. It's got to be different.
Oh yeah,
So
definitely.
that's awesome. That is awesome. I mean, so you've been basically toiling on this thing for the better part of 5 years,
Yep.
and you finally got it to crank up.
Yeah. And you know what? It was funny. It really didn't It didn't take that many try. Like every time you start a new build, you start a new engine. It takes a little bit to get the fuel. The fuel lines bled out, get the oil pressure built up, and then to get everything to just fire and crank over for the first time. And it really wasn't too bad. It was funny. We were talking about little stuff that you miss. I left a vacuum line off. So when it first started the first couple times, it started revved up. It made a crazy hissing noise and shut down. And so we started up again and again and again. And my neighbor across the street came in and he was like, "Hey, it sounds like a vacuum leak." Now I was in the car. Jason was up here and he was adjusting the fuel pressure regulator because we had an issue with that as well.
Right.
That actually was kind of clogged up. It had just been sitting for too long.
Right.
So he's like, I think there's, and he found the little port and he put his thumb over it and all of a sudden it just smoothed out the idle, and it was just like, oh yeah, the brake booster line right here, plugged in the brake booster, it's running, it's good, and yeah, so it's gonna come down to now tuning it, doing the mechanical tuning, getting the base timing set correctly, getting the base, air fuel ratio and fuel pressure and all that stuff set. But just being able to drive it, getting a couple tests in, it was amazing. It really, really was
completely
quite the experience. Oh yeah, definitely. And to be able to drive it around the block and just like I'm in my car, like I'm actually driving it. This thing is going and running, and yeah.
Here, when it burnt down not the first time, but when it burnt down, when it originally burnt down, did you ever think that you'd be at this point again? Because I know for a while you were like, I don't want to deal with this car at all. I'm done.
Right. And at first when it happened, when I had the catastrophic engine failure, and for those of you guys who missed last week's live video, me and Marty tore that engine down live, and you get a chance to see Camera Cat. You get a chance to see that. If you missed it, head on over to our YouTube channel. I've got the video posted up there. You can watch us break the whole thing down. So that was a lot of fun. That was cool to do. I gotta say, like when it first happened, no, I thought
No.
I was done. I was like, I wonder how much they're gonna give me for scrap metal, and I'll figure something out. I'm gonna buy something else. I'm gonna do, I don't even know if I'm gonna work. Like I was to the point when it first happened. I was to the point where it's like I don't even know if I'm gonna work on cars ever again. Like I was just that devastated. I know it was like really dramatic for but like I was just so devastated.
Well, I mean, you put how many years, how much time into it before it burnt that
right.
And then all of a sudden it was just gone. You know what I mean? So yeah, being able what was the deciding factor of, okay, you know what, I'm gonna rebuild this and I'm gonna do it better this time? Because a lot of people would have either completely scrapped this build like you were talking about, or started something different. Bought a different car and tried something with so they didn't have to rebuild a burnt car.
Yeah. The deciding factor, after like probably about a month of just being depressed and not wanting to look at it, I got to the point where it was like, okay, either I'm going to buy something that I really want that's built, or I rebuild this car. And the deciding factor was, I was talking to my wife and she was like, listen, you keep saying you're going to buy something different, but that car's still sitting in the garage. You haven't called, like it takes 2 seconds to call the scrapper and you haven't. And what are you really doing? Like, do you really want to get rid of it? And I was like, no, I really don't want to get rid of it. to have something major like that fail and just to like give up on the car. Like I know there's like this weird like an emotional attachment you're not supposed to have with cars and stuff, but I just had one. I
Right.
loved the car. I had plans for it. We were gonna make a nitrous engine DSM, which isn't commonly done, and to have it fail before I even got to nitrous and got to the cool stuff was really heartbreaking. And so she really was just like, look, if you're gonna do it, then do it, but it can't just sit here. So it's like, okay. I started looking around, and a guy from work found down in St. Louis, actually, a guy who was selling a parts car. He had basically 2 cars, one shell and one like car that he completely stripped down. And so me and him went out to St. Louis. We towed this thing back, and I got I got a massive, I won't say everything, but I got a massive package of parts. So engine, transmission, the whole front clip that you see here, the wiring harnesses, everything. And so it was really like, okay, well, I've got the stuff to rebuild this car now. And on top of that, I've got new interior to put in it, which is much nicer than the old interior that was in this thing that had just been torn to shreds, and it was nasty. And so it was like, it's kind of like that moment of this could be done. This could really happen.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really that was the deciding factor. She was like, you gotta make a decision. And then we found this parts car guy that was just scrapping out a couple of DSMs, and it was like, this is it. This is the chance right here.
Right. When are you gonna find this package of again at this exact time?
Mm-hmm.
Can you move?
Right.
Out of the way.
Oh, camera cat. Thumbs up for the camera cat.
I've got 3 of them in here right now.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was almost like it meant to be at that point because, this guy is selling literally everything that you need, and it's like, okay, if I jump on this, I can put this car back together and I can have it going.
Right. Right. I can bring the car back to life. I can get it back on the road.
Right.
And start fresh. It's a fresh build, and it was almost like getting a new car without having to get rid of my car. The engines were so different, the setups were so different, and
right.
Be able to build a turbo car to kind of the specifications I always wanted to, as far as the DSM goes. That was awesome for me.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah. Man. I don't know if I could have that happen to me and then continue to build it. I think it would be one of those things of like, I couldn't see myself trying to put it back together. Like, okay, when I deployed and came back and Big Blue was all sorts of messed up, I couldn't see myself putting money into the truck, considering one, I didn't do it. I didn't do the stuff to it.
Right.
And 2, I just couldn't. I couldn't let it. I couldn't look at it sitting like that because it just made me sad. The truck was sagging a little bit on one side because it was missing a spring pack on the one side, and
right.
The gear selector was broken, and this was messed up, and this is messed up, and it's just like there's so much stuff that I have to do to get this thing back to how I had it before I left it. That it's just. I couldn't deal with it anymore. I ended up trading it off. I've had that truck for 13 years at that point.
Yeah. That's a big deal.
Yeah. And honestly, I haven't really done much really like working on stuff since then because I just haven't had the want to because of how that truck was.
Right.
But,
right.
We're going to be doing some work to Snowflake here soon, so hopefully we can get Snowflake more roadworthy than it is.
Right. Yeah, I'm excited to see that. That'll be awesome. And now that this is running, and we're getting into winter, I've got a lot of footage to edit down for you guys. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel because eventually you're going to be seeing the headlight conversion. You'll be seeing the mechanical tuning and the computer tuning that I'm going to end up doing. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I've got a lot of footage that I have to break down for you guys and put into it. So while you guys are here, if you have any questions about the build, what I have in it right now, what it was before it got to where it's at now, make sure to post them in the comment section right now.
Yeah, definitely. Post stuff what you want to see about the build, because honestly, now that it's done, he can kind of do a whole walkthrough of what all had to be replaced and what was still original to the car, honestly.
Right.
Because
So, I mean, I guess I could start out, start with just the engine itself, which I was really excited about. The engine was something that when I bought it, I knew sort of what was in it, but didn't have a full perspective. I actually tore the whole thing down.
did you?
Because, well, I wasn't gonna, the last engine I didn't tear the whole thing down. I tore down portions of the engine to just kind of, did the head gasket, did the oil pan, did the balance shaft deletes, and I didn't do the bearings. I didn't pull the cranks. I didn't do the piston rings and all that stuff. Like I only did a portion of it. So the engine that I got, I knew it had a polished imported head, and I knew that the turbo setup on it had a nice 16G turbo charger from Mitsubishi. That's the one they use in the Evo 3 for those of you who don't know. But what I didn't know is the piston and rod combination, and I didn't know what crankshaft was in it, other than it was the 6-bolt crankshaft, which is considered the better crankshaft, although there's a whole lot of different debate on the crankshaft stuff.
It all depends on what your like is.
Yeah, so I mean, some of the 6-bolt crankshafts from Mitsubishi were forged from the factory, and then as the engine became more and more common, they couldn't afford to continue to put forged crankshafts in everything, so they started casting the crankshafts to save money.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So if you want, like when we were tearing down that other engine, and for those of you who want to watch the video on YouTube, I showed you where the cast line was on that. So it's very easy to tell which ones are cast, which ones are not when you have the engine out. So I opened it up, and I'll be damned, it was a freaking forged crankshaft, and I was crazy excited. I was like, this is awesome. All right.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, because I remember you were saying that I wouldn't say completely built, but it was mildly built when you said you were going to get it. You're like, it's had work done to it. And
yeah.
I'm like, well, that's better than. Was there a lot of? Was it being run before you bought it, or was it like built and then the guy kind of just got tired of the build and then sold everything off?
So from what I understand, he had a DSM, and the engine had been built, and he'd been running the car. He got into an accident with the car, and screwed up the body so bad that he tore it down, took all of his performance parts and everything out of the car that he wanted to save, bought himself a shell, tore that shell down in preparation to put all of his racing stuff into it, and then lost interest, decided it's too much work, I'm not doing it, and sold everything to me and my buddy. So the engine had been ran, and I knew that it made somewhere between 300 and 400 horsepower when it was running. So the build on it, like you said, it was a mild build, but it was one of these builds. They consider it like the junkyard build in the DSM community. Basically, Mitsubishi released different parts for the same engine, and depending on the engine you had and the year you had different pistons, you had different wrist pins, you had different connecting rods, different crankshafts. And so there's like this certain build where if you get all of these stock parts, you can actually make a really good engine for kind of cheap, for on the cheap. And that's really like, that's kind of my thing. Like that's one of the things I love about DSMs and I love about working on cars is figuring out how I can build something. Thumbs up for camera cats. Thumbs up for camera cats.
Right.
But it's always fun to figure out how I can build something without having to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on pistons or rods or whatever. So it had second generation pistons, that's 95 to 99. And those pistons have a compression ratio of 8.5 to 1 versus the 7.8 to 1 that the first generation pistons were.
Okay.
The wrist pins are bigger on those, but the connecting rods are smaller. So it's got first generation connecting rods, second generation pistons, bigger wrist pins, higher compression, thicker rods, and a forged crankshaft.
It's basically just the best of everything.
Right, the best of everything that Mitsubishi made stock for the car, and all put into one engine block. And without having to buy all the crazy racing parts, you get a pretty
stout, yeah.
Yeah, it's a decent build. The forged crankshaft and the cast iron block really that really makes for a solid bottom end, and you can really push a lot of boost onto it and make some good horsepower.
So basically, that motor that you've got now is, a lot better than what you had originally, and basically, if you were going to be building that your nitrous setup, you would have probably done the same thing with that motor as that you did, that is already done to this one.
Pretty much. It was the build. It was the build I always wanted to do, but never really took the time to do, or never put the money aside to do.
Right.
It was just kind of one of those things that, like, if I could, without money being an object, I would plan out this, and it was just kind of everything that I always wanted to do, minus the fact that it was.
If I blow this one up.
Yeah, right. Pretty much, which is what happened. So things work out.
It worked out perfectly. That's awesome. So I'm guessing that this one that you've got now has far less miles than your blown up one. You don't.
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
I really don't know.
Okay.
So I don't know what the mileage was on the engine. It couldn't. On the block itself, it couldn't have been a lot, or at least it had been refurbished at some point. When I tore the engine down, you could still see the hash marks in the cylinder wall from when they hone out the cylinder wall. You get these little hash marks,
right,
in it, and so it still had the hash marks in it. So I knew it couldn't have had too many miles on it. There wasn't any kind of lip from where the piston rings stop, as you'll see that kind of wear into most engine blocks.
Right.
So I really don't know, but I did take the time. I had it apart. I went ahead and I rehoned the cylinders, not much, just a tiny little bit, just to refresh them. Put new piston rings in. I put new rod bearings in, and I put new crankshaft bearings in. So I refreshed the whole bottom end, made sure everything was torqued, everything was Loctited, and just really went over the whole thing, because I wanted to avoid another catastrophic failure.
To avoid what happened with you. Now, as we were pulling that other one apart, I was thinking about it because you had that what was it? That one connecting rod, the bolts on the bottom where you were hand pulling them off.
Right.
Do you think that it was something on those loosened up and they started to fall off, and that's what happened on the last cylinder there? Or do you think that banging stuff around loosened those other ones up?
I'm really not entirely sure. The fact that the end cap and wasn't still connected to the crankshaft, to me, means that the bolts, the nuts rattled themselves loose, came loose, were never, torqued properly to begin with. Something that, like, I should have checked when I had the oil pan off, and I didn't. I really, really regret that.
But you never. I mean, but here's the deal. I mean, when you start doing stuff like that, you take that for granted. You're like, okay, well, I never touched it. It shouldn't be loose.
Right.
You know what I mean?
There's no point. There's no point for me to touch it with a wrench if it's been there this whole time. Why would it come loose now at this point?
I never touched it, so why should it be loose?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So, I kind of took it for granted, and we're at where we're at now because of it.
You live and you learn. I mean, I guess from now on, whenever you're doing something with something, you're gonna, and whenever you got an oil pan off, you're just gonna check them. You're gonna check them
Just check
bolts. Why the hell not?
Yeah, why the hell not? I'm gonna check them
Yeah.
now, every time. Make
Yeah,
sure they're
you're already
torqued and
you're already
everything's down.
there. What the heck?
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Quick tip
man.
for anybody
So
who's building an engine: just make sure you torque everything. Just check it. Even
just
if you
check
didn't
it.
touch it, just check it.
Just
Just
check
check it.
it. Whoa! Come on, Mal. Camera cat 1. But so obviously you were able to pull that engine and put the new one in there. What else did you have to replace on the front? What was there anything that was salvageable at all?
So pretty much from the firewall forward, I replaced everything. The only thing that I didn't replace was the power steering rack was okay. That really wasn't touched by anything, and the subframe was okay. But other than that, I replaced just everything. So you're talking all the body panels. So the fenders, the hood, the front bumper, the headlights. Obviously, it's got pop-up headlights in it now. The wiring harness for both the engine and the headlight wiring harness, all that had to be replaced. Yeah, the engine, the transmission, every vacuum line, every fuel line, every brake line, just everything underneath the hood. I just replaced all of it, just everything. Engine mounts, just I had to go through and I had to, because there was a fire underneath the hood, and because the fire department came and put it out, the crap that they sprayed underneath the hood, I had to power wash underneath. Once I got the body panels off, I power washed the whole thing, and then I got a grinder and a wire wheel out, and I sanded everything down and grinded everything down and repainted everything under the hood. And it was quite the process. There was a lot of burnt plastic and melted crap just everywhere that some stuff I could chip away, other stuff I had to grind away, and it was quite the process.
I can imagine. I mean, luckily you got all you had, like you said, was from the firewall forward. I mean, I've seen some of these guys where it gets into it gets through the firewall into the interior and just burns everything down.
Yeah, could have easily been 1,000 times worse.
Right.
To the point where it wouldn't have been even salvageable. They would have just towed it straight to the junkyard because it would have been
right.
It could have burnt the whole car down. The fire was small, but it was big enough to really destroy everything under the hood.
Right. Well, I mean, at least it's up and running again.
Yeah.
and now you know to check the flywheels when you buy something.
Right. Well,
I mean,
and if anybody needs a flywheel for a GSX, I have a lightweight flywheel for a GSX. Lightly used. It's very nice.
That had to have been like the worst feeling ever. You're buttoning everything up. You're almost ready. You're like, let's try it out, and nothing. It just spins, and you're like, oh.
Yeah. That was just like, it's just a real. Oh yeah, definitely, just a real kick to the nuts, man. It was just like, what is this? Why? What is going on? And it dawned on me, honestly, almost immediately that like, I wonder if the flywheels are different. And the thing is I didn't know putting it in that there was a difference in the flywheels, and I assumed that the flywheels were the same because, number one, the transmission fit. It fits. It says there's no restriction or anything like that. Number two, the clutch was the same. Number three, the starter part number is the same. The bolting pattern is the same. Like the axles are the same. Everything is the same on the GSX transmission as it is the GST transmission, minus the all-wheel drive stuff and the portion where the actual starter mounts.
Right.
On the bell housing, where that's molded into the bell housing, is just slightly in on the all-wheel drive, and still to this day, I still like. I'm just like, why would you even do that? Just why?
Well, And not only that, but if you look at the flywheels themselves, the one that you just got and the one that you had aren't that much different looking. I mean, honestly,
No.
the only difference is the size. So if you were to
Right.
just look at it, if you were just to look at it real quick, you're like, okay, that's the right one. Because, I mean, unless you go and measure it and go, okay, well, no, this is the wrong one. I've got to go change it. But, hopefully that helps somebody else down the road because
Right.
because I mean, for like you said, you had it for however long, 5 years. Never thought anything of it. Everything worked out perfectly. Everything fits perfectly. There's no changes in any of the parts numbers, and it's a half inch smaller.
Right. And like you said, you couldn't if you had like side by side, you can see the difference. Side by side,
Right.
you can go, okay, this one's bigger, this one's smaller. If I were to separate the two of them and put one over here and one over there and say, go in that room and look
Pick
at that
one.
flywheel, tell me which one it is, you couldn't possibly be able to unless, like you said, you took out the tape measure and you measured it and went, okay, it's less than 11 inches. Because even when you measure it, like trying to get, because the different heights of the different flanges and stuff, trying to get exact measurement is just about impossible.
Right.
So like measuring it you're with a tape measure or whatever, you're still likely to go, I'm not sure that there's a difference here. I could be measuring this wrong because it's such a small difference in it.
Yeah, it still boggles my mind on why that would be. I mean, it's just like, why? If I understand, probably. I mean, was the GSX a later model, or was it
No.
always a model like the all-wheel drive? Was it always there, or was it?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
an
So when the cars were released in 1989 as 1990 model year cars,
right,
and you had the RS, which was a 1.8 liter, the GS 2 liter, GS Turbo, and the GSX, which was all-wheel drive. They all came out together. You had all the options straight away from 1990 forward, and it doesn't seem to make sense. Now, if you look at what the Eclipse, Eagle Talon, Plymouth Laser, all that stuff actually is, which is an Evo in a different chassis, right? So considering that, you could go, okay, well, in Japan, you've got the Lancer, and it's a front-wheel drive, 4-cylinder, 2-liter, and Mitsubishi said, you know what? What if we made this our rally car? And then they made it an all-wheel drive, turbocharged thing. So perhaps that's why. Perhaps that's the difference.
My thing is, if you're offering them all like that, why would you not just? I mean, because there's no difference in there's no difference in the transmission except for the placement of that starter, right?
Right. The all-wheel drive components and the placement of the starter. Because the bell housing, like, it doesn't matter which engine you have, whether you have the naturally aspirated, the turbocharged engine, the transmissions will all bolt to that engine. Like, it's the same 4 bolts that bolted to the engine. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It's the same engine.
So my question is, why would they not just offer the transmission that works on everything? You know what I mean? Like, if there's no difference, then why would they not just put that all-wheel drive transmission on everything to make it easier for them? Because
right.
I used to assemble Caterpillar cabs, right? And you'd come in and you'd get a build sheet, and there'd be the same cables, the exact same length, but one of them had a different part number because later on it needed to be like it needed to do something differently. So, but they're the same exact part number, and they do the exact same function. But there was no point. I mean, one of them was like 2 inches longer or something like that.
I see Camera Cat has a new fan. Thanks, Mike. Make sure to give us a thumbs up and a share for Camera Cat, who just enjoys interrupting as we're doing our
Camera
podcast
Cat
here.
is always here. But so it was like 2 inches longer. So it's like, why would you not just do that other part that was 2 inches longer all the time?
Right.
Because there's no difference. But like, why would you not just offer that all-wheel drive transmission all the time because there's no difference, literally like no difference except for the size of the flywheel and the placement of that starter.
Right.
Make
So
it
like
easier on yourself.
it's crazy because it's just the placement of the starter. So you could have made, and what really killed me is when we had them laying out, you saw the non-turbo flywheel, and for those of you who haven't seen the
Totally
video,
different.
check it out on YouTube. The non-turbo flywheel, although it's built differently, and it may just be because that's a stock flywheel and the other two are lightweight flywheels, but
Right.
size-wise, they're the same. The all-wheel drive and the non-turbo front-wheel drive flywheel, they're the same size.
Yeah.
So why? Just why? Why would you have just one extra one that's a difference? I really don't understand. It kills me. And it was devastating. Well, I mean, not devastating, but it was like, dude, seriously, I have this car done and I have to pull the transmission one more time. Like just one more time, just for the hell of it. We're just gonna pull the transmission one more time. And sure enough, that did it. Pull the transmission, got the new flywheel in. And before I finished hooking everything up, Jay was like, just make sure. So we hooked up the battery and the starter, and sure, yeah, there it goes. It's cranking. Let's crank it.
All the way across.
Yes, I think you're right, Mike. They probably did do it just to make me mad. Just because someday some guy is going to have the exact wrong flywheel and not know it. And the thing that sucks is had I done it reverse, if I had a the front wheel drive turbo flywheel and an all-wheel drive transmission, apparently the transmission doesn't bolt up because that starter piece contacts the flywheel because the flywheel is slightly bigger. So had I done it the opposite way, it wouldn't have fit anyway, and it would have been like, oh, okay. What's up, Jim? How you doing, buddy? Thanks for being with us. Make sure to give us a thumbs up and a share.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Oh, it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. If you guys have questions about the build, how it sits now, or how we got it to where it's at, just make sure to post them in the comment section right now.
Yeah, definitely. Are you gonna sleep now? Are you laying down?
Camera Cat's going to bed?
No.
Camera Cat's had enough.
Oh wait, no. Yeah, she's trying to calm down, but she's laying down on the desk next to me, so we'll see what happens. Oh man. But yeah, so it's got to be a great feeling that knowing that you can just hop in it and drive it.
Yeah.
I mean,
it needs a tune.
Yeah, I was gonna say how. I mean, other than needing a tune, is it good to go? I mean, what else?
I mean, it drove. It felt good. It was running pretty smooth for not being tuned. I tried to get on it a couple times just to ease into the throttle, and it definitely sputtered and didn't like going onto boost. So and that's all just because it's not tuned at all. So it's got a bigger turbo, it's got a bigger mass airflow sensor, and it's got just all kinds of different modifications, bigger injectors and everything. And so I'm gonna have to tune it. We're gonna have to get in there and really tune it.
Yeah.
But it's before getting on boost, it ran totally fine. The transmission shifted great. It was an odd feeling to be in the car, not only because the clutch was super heavy, but also it's an old 90s transmission, and so the feel of it is like you really are like kind of hunting around for the gears, going like, man, first, where's second, there it is, third is there, okay. And so it was definitely a different feeling.
People are saying bye. Can you come over here? Thank you. Yeah. So did that one plug wire? Did that work, or is it still kind of janky?
It worked. I didn't have a misfire. All four. See you later, Mike. All four cylinders were firing. It ran pretty smooth. Yeah. The cylinder number 4 plug wire is ripped and kind of wonky. I'll probably end up replacing it, but I know that it still made contact with a spark plug, so I wasn't concerned. I ohms tested it and it tested fine. So yeah.
Yeah, because I remember looking at it. I'm like, that one looks a little off compared to the other ones. And then you're like, yeah, I don't know. It was ripped when I got it, but it still makes contact. So I'm just gonna run it until until it
Yeah.
doesn't work.
I mean, had there been a misfire, it would have been, blatant, like, okay, I got to replace the spark plug
Right,
wire. That's
right.
not that big of a deal. I'm going to replace them later on eventually. But for now, it's running. And we're to the
Yeah.
point now where I can tinker and get things just dialed in just right. So,
Perfect. Awesome. What are you doing? She's whatever. I'm not gonna ask. Oh man. So what'd you do with the other motor or engine, I should say, because people get pissed off when you say motor, not engine.
well, the other engine is still sitting here in pieces. I haven't done anything with it. I got the oil pan, full of carnage. But we got this thing running, so I wasn't concerned about doing anything with it yet. I'll probably end up making myself a few trophies out of the massive mess of parts, and yeah, I'll probably scrap the engine block. I don't know what iron goes for right now, but it's worth
Clean
something.
Clean it up, and make a table out of it.
Make a table.
Make like an addition to your workbench or something.
Yeah, there we go.
It's just, and then it's got an extra, holder for like screwdrivers or something.
It's got an air cooled internals. So
yeah, there you go. It's one of those prototype air cooled internal engines. There you go. That's how it works. Sorry, I was having an issue with my pen here. It's not working.
Oh.
Hi. Can you?
And the cat's back.
Can you come over here all the way? I don't know why she likes to climb across the deck. Can you? No. Oh, now you're not.
Yeah. I don't know.
Stay over here. Stay back.
So we did have one issue come up while we were driving the car around, and it's kind of a silly thing to happen, but things happen. So the serpentine belt on this is old. I don't know what the mileage is on it, or even if it may even still be a stock OEM came with the car serpentine belt. But on our second trip around the block, or was it the third trip? Maybe it was the second. Anyway, we pulled up and I wanted to check the torque on the wheels because it'd been sitting so long. I was like, you know what? I don't remember if I torqued these. Let's just, I'll grab the torque wrench. We'll be safe. And as I'm going inside the garage to get the torque wrench, all of a sudden I just hear whap, 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 whap. And I'm like, oh, shit. Like, what is that? That's not good. That's terrible. Jay shuts the engine down. He's like, I don't know, man. So we popped the hood, and it just, the serpentine belt was just shredded. It was just gone. It gave up. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I've got to order a serpentine belt for it. Not a big deal. They're cheap. It's kind of funny.
Are you not able to find one kind of just hanging out? I mean, obviously it's an older.
The local parts stores all have given like, oh yeah, we have one, but it's you have to go to this store to get it or go to that store to get it. Normally, like when you go to a parts store and you're like, oh, I need this part, they're like, oh yeah, we can have it for you. It's at our other store. It'll be here. But for whatever reason, when I ask for the belt, they're like, oh yeah, you can go get it at the other store. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that.
I mean, yeah, I've had it where I was buying, I think I was buying wheel bearings, wheel hub assemblies for my truck, and I needed two of them because I'm going to replace both of them when I replace one. This is how why replace one and then let the other one go out next week, and then that way I have a spare in case one of them goes bad again. That way I can just throw it on there until I can get both of them again. But they had one place had one, and another one like an hour away had the other. And I was like, I'm not driving an hour just to go get it. They're like, well, we can have the other one here in 3 hours. I'm like, all right, I'll buy them, and I'll take this one home, and then when you guys get the other one, I'll bring it. I'll come back and get it. But some places they're like, yeah, we won't do that. We're not transferring between stores.
Yeah.
You have to do that.
I don't know why. I've had them. The stores that I went to, they've done it for me before, where they've got the part for me. I just I just gave the guy kind of one of these like, huh? And I was just
Really?
like, you know what? Screw it. I'm ordering on Rock Auto.
Yeah. There you go. Rock
Excuse me.
Auto. Rock Auto
Excuse me.
saves the day again.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then whoa, and down
Oh.
she goes. Sorry everybody. Got a little karate chop to the mic cord there.
You have
And then
work at yourself?
what's no, that was just a karate chop to the cord. The other thing is too, the part numbers are weird because this engine has 3 serpentine belts. There's one that goes to the air conditioner, one that goes to the power steering, and one that goes to the alternator, and they all run off the same middle pulley. And so the guy was like, well, I'm not sure if this is the right part number, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I just don't even I don't want to deal with you right now.
You'd think over the course of time, someone would have created a single belt for that setup.
Well, the pulleys are all in different, so they all centralize off a pulley, and there's 3 spots for the different belts. So you've got one belt here and one belt here.
Oh, I know. I mean, there's set. What are you doing over there? The cat's trying to get in the door now. But there's been times where I want to say I can't remember which truck it was, but there was a truck that we had. It had 2 serpentine belts. It had one that ran the air conditioning and alternator, and then it had one that ran everything else. And we went there one day, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is the new one." We're like, "What do you mean the new one?" They're like, "This runs everything now. It's one belt for everything." I'm like, I don't trust that, but we're gonna put it in there and just make sure. And it worked fine. Nice. It worked fine. I mean, it was kind of like an updated thing. Apparently, people were having issues with the 2 belt setup, and they're like, somebody was like, "Why don't we just make a belt that fits everything?" And so after a while, it just kind of caught on, and people made one belt. But if
it would be nice.
If they're different, offsets and stuff like that, it would probably be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it would be nice to be able to just put one belt on it and call it a day. I don't know. It's another one of those things where you're just like, really?
Whatever.
Like, you did all these other cool stuff with this engine, and you're gonna do this stupid. So it is what it is.
They do have 3 different flywheels.
That's true. Possibly 4. I've never seen a 1.8 liters flywheel, so possibly 4 different.
Ooh, true.
I just be honest. It's probably different.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, but it'd be par for course.
Mhm. Pretty standard stuff.
Yeah, pretty standard stuff. Exactly. Oh boy, what do we got? So obviously, we've been doing a bunch of stuff with All Terrain Outlaws lately. We've actually grown quite a lot since the last couple of videos. I mean, we've picked up a handful of new members, which is awesome. Hello, welcome everybody.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. So if you enjoy what we're doing, if you like seeing this stuff, if you like talking about cars, share it with your friends. Hang out. We're having fun over here.
Yeah, we had a pretty successful, although be it small, it was a fun car meet we had the other week.
True. Very true. I mean, you got to remember, it was our first one. We only had about a week to promote it out, and it was cold.
It was. It did end up being cold. When the couple weeks beforehand, when we started to okay, we can do it at this day. We just got to find a place and blah blah blah. The weather guys said it was going to be mid to high 60s. So I was like, it's going to be great. It's going to be beautiful.
Right.
And Midwest weather never wants to help. So it got cold.
Right.
But we still had a good time. Had some good members come out. We saw some good rides.
Yeah, definitely. I had a great time. I mean,
Yeah, me too.
even though
Definitely.
even though it was a small group of people, that's it. You got to start somewhere. So hopefully we can continue this and build on it, have a little bit more time to promote it next time, and you
Yeah.
know have more people out there. Hopefully, more people will be part of the All Terrain Outlaws by the time that we promote it again, and to share it with all their friends and be like, "Hey, man, there's going to be a car show in your area. You should go out and
Right.
check it out."
Definitely. Definitely. But it was a good time. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
the YouTube channel's coming along. We've got some more videos up right now. Me and Marty filmed a pretty fun video the other day. So make sure to check that out. Give us a thumbs up for that one. And like I said, there's so much footage I have to edit down and get ready for you guys. Like just so much. So
Right.
in the next month or two, you're gonna be just getting video after video after video of different stuff that I've filmed and recorded and have been working
Yeah. So
on.
go check the YouTube out. Go check the YouTube channel out. Share it with your friends because, like Rob said, he's gonna be dumping some serious content pretty soon.
Yeah,
I'm
should be a
gonna be
lot.
I'm gonna be trying to get some. Sorry, I keep hearing cats move around. I'm gonna try to be getting some content out here as well. I'm gonna try to do a couple of things here and there. I finally have the computer set up to where I can start editing stuff as well again.
Nice.
So we'll see what's going on. Hopefully we can start getting more content out for you guys. We're trying. It's just we have regular jobs too. we do this all in between jobs and when we get home and doing
Right.
other stuff. So it happens.
It becomes very difficult to do the car and then do the video and then do the car and then do the video. So I kind of
it
filmed a
adds
bunch
so
of
much
stuff.
time to it. It adds so much time to it because instead of just working on it, you're working on it and making sure you're getting the right camera angle and
Right.
making sure you're recording it right. And shoot, I said something wrong on that take. Let me try it again.
Yeah. Well, you'll be getting some good footage. I filmed everything when I did the transmission, and clutch and flywheel, and so if you ever wanted to learn how to do a clutch and flywheel on a DSM, that video's coming. So I filmed all that stuff.
Awesome.
Doing the install on the pop-up headlights, that's all filmed. So I got to the point where it was just like, I'm going to film this, and then, once it's done, then I'll come back to the computer. I'll get you guys some content. And so be looking forward to that stuff. It's going to be really, really great.
Awesome.
It's going to be a lot of good content coming your way.
Awesome. I can't wait. I can't wait to see it. I mean, I finally got to see it pretty well done over the weekend. And
yeah.
It's the first time I've seen the car that complete since we worked on it before the fire.
Yeah, because it was really together before the catastrophic failure, and then that happened, and it was just like a complete teardown.
When we were still doing it, it was up in the air. You had it up on jack stands, like it wasn't even sitting on the ground on all fours.
Right. So it was just like
not only is it back together and running, you cruised it around the block a couple of times.
Yeah, that was cool. I gotta tell you, that was cool.
I guarantee you probably had the biggest shit-eating grin in the world.
Oh, seriously, so like Jay, I can't wait for Jay to post a video. He's got it on his phone, so he promised he was gonna put it up. But he's got work and stuff too. But yeah, he pulled up alongside me and everything, and I took off a couple times just to But it was really, man, this car's got there's some power to unleash in this thing. Once we get it tuned and we get it on boost, there is some power to. I was just cruising it around, just basically no more than 2,000 to 3,000 RPM, and it was like, dude, there's some serious ponies about to be coming out from underneath this thing. And yeah, y'all
was it
better
like the
watch out.
laser? Was it like the
Sh-
laser where you couldn't control it?
I mean, it's about to be. It's about to be. I gotta get some big fat tires for the front of this thing because I'm not gonna be doing the laser, squirrely. I mean, it's gonna torque steer. It's a front wheel drive. It's gonna torque steer, but we're gonna put some big fat tires on the front of this thing to get it to stick. And I can't wait. Next summer, all the little kinks and all the little tweaks should be done, and we're
Right.
gonna be taking it down to the drag strip, and we're gonna be taking it to the autocross. Probably with Ken. Ken does a lot of autocross. I can't wait to hook up with him and bring some cars out there, autocross with Ken.
Definitely.
And
That would be awesome.
I really want to unleash this thing on the Autobahn over here, the country club racetrack thing they got over here in Joliet.
Do they have like open days and stuff like that?
Yeah, so they have car club days and stuff. I'll probably end up going out there. I know the Miata Club out here, they do a lot of track days, like a lot of track days, compared to anybody else out here. So I'll probably be out there with a whole lot of Miatas. But, they're going to be eating some DSM dust because it's going to...
Unless somebody LS swapped one of them.
I'm sure somebody did. You can't have a Miata and not like a Miata Club and not have at least one guy that was like, well, I put a V8 in it,
Right? They're always doing something with them. There was a company that was selling kits. They would either sell you the entire kit or do it for you, and they were putting 5.0 Mustang engines in it.
Yeah, so I think that company's still around. I know that there's a company that does the LS swap for you. They'll do the Mustang engine for you. I've seen. I mean, Miatas that's just Miata life. Either you're turbocharging, supercharging. You've got so many options with the Miata that it's just like, it is what it is.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Kay.
Oh, camera cat.
Back.
It's one of the things that I admire about the Miata Car Club is that they've got so many different things going on. Where like a lot of the DSM groups are hard to get along with just because if you don't do this engine this way, you're not doing it right, and you better.
Purists.
Yeah, they're very purists, and it's like, come on, guys. I just like the car. I want to have fun with the car. Just let me do my thing.
Something different. I want to do something different. You guys have your You have your car, and I want to build mine my way. Just because I'm building it my way doesn't mean it's wrong. I want to do something different.
I just want to do something different sometimes. Yeah. And nothing against the DSM community. It's dude, it is hard to get away from the 4G63. It's such a good 4-cylinder engine that like I get it, It's how do I describe this? It's like having a Hemi engine in a Mopar car. Like, how do you not have a Hemi engine in a Mopar car? The Hemi engine's great, right?
Right.
It's kind of the same thing.
It's one of those things of you think of Dodge cars and you think of Hemi. You think of Mitsubishis. You think of,
the 4G63. I mean, it's the Evo engine. It's the Eclipse engine. It's the Galant VR4 engine. Like it's the engine that Mitsubishi made. It's kind of like Honda's B16 back in the day. I guess now it's the K24 or whatever the new thing is. But but you know what I mean. Like
it's one of
those
things of you
it's
think
that
of
staple. So
you think of a car, you think of this engine. You think of that car, you think of this engine.
Right. So it's definitely hard to get away from that typical build. The build by number 4G63. You have to do it this way. And it's not like the formula doesn't work. You take a look at
it does.
it works. It works well. You take a look at like the Red Demon built by Boostin Performance. Those guys are running 7-second quarter miles in a 4-cylinder stick shift car, not some automatic. The 4-cylinder stick shift, and they're running 7 seconds and making over 1,000 horsepower. Like, how do you get away from that engine? It's really, really hard. Right. So, it is what it is. I can't hate on them too much. It's just annoying that when you try to do something different, you get chastised. Like, if those guys were a little more open to some of the more different or different ways of thinking, it'd be a little bit more cooler. But
I mean that's why we're here. That's why All Terrain Outlaws exists, because
Mm,
I love seeing stuff like that. There's things that I've seen that I'm like, well, I've never thought about doing that. Is it
right.
cool? Does it work? And everyone, yeah, it fucking works great. Keep doing it then. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right.
Because
I
you never know.
yeah.
You never know what you can fit in. Like that's like when Mighty Car Mods did that K20 swap into their Mini.
Yeah.
You
They had a
know,
bunch of haters, man. A bunch of
they
mini guys
did.
were really like, "You can't do that." And I was like, "Dude, he he put a Honda engine in there. Like, it makes sense. Honda
Yeah.
engines make great NA horsepower with the VTEC and all the different things that they do for naturally aspiration. Like,
With as light as that car is.
yeah, it's everything that I mean. It's almost like having a CRX, but he's got the mini. I mean, and then on top of it,
Yeah.
it was a Japanese mini anyway. So,
Right.
excuse me, sorry guys. I'm like,
So I mean, it's not as bad as if it was a British Mini, I guess.
yeah, I guess it was something cool and different.
Yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
way. It was a way of building a car that hadn't been done before and was very very different and that's what I loved. And that's that's what I like about this car group is there's a lot of different guys in our car group that have a lot of different ways of looking at stuff.
I mean,
We've got mudding guys, we've got guys
yeah.
like me that are tuner guys. You got, guys like you that love big trucks and
Well,
so
hell, I
it's
mean,
just
like you said, there's things that don't quite fit. Like I don't know if you've seen the video of the F100 drifting.
dude, you
Uh,
did what now?
there's a
Drift-
F1. There's an F100. Like
That's amazing.
the old
Yeah.
60s F100 pickups. And there's a guy who built it into a drift truck, and he drifts it all over the place. Can you move
Camera
one side
cat.
or the other?
Camera
One side or
cat.
the other, Mal. Come on.
Dude.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, look at our group right now. All Terrain Outlaws as it sits. I could just think off the top of my head. We got a guy in here that's got a drifting 5.0 Mustang.
True.
Who does that? Nobody
That's
does
what I'm
that.
saying. Yeah, exactly.
We got a guy in here that's got a 72 Cadillac, and it's mint and it's gorgeous and it's just
Right.
it's beautiful.
Yeah, that
I mean,
thing gets off.
It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. We had a guy in a group that's got a lifted FJ. Is it an FJ Cruiser? Is that what they're called?
Yeah, FJ Cruiser.
I don't know Toyotas. I'm sorry, guys. I don't. We got a guy in the group that's into RC cars that has like this crazy, mud and track for his RC car. Like, dude, we got guys in here that just love everything. From muscle cars and trucks and tuners and classics, and it's so much more fun to be a part of a group like this than any other like solid car community. Because I mean, where else can I go where I can be like, hey guys, what do you think about this turbocharger setup in one post, and then in the next post be like, dude, how did you get over that rock pile and going through the mud? Like,
Yeah.
I just like I love it. It's so much fun.
And not only that, but you got to okay. You've watched Roadkill before, right? Matt?
Oh yeah, I've watched Roadkill.
So you remember the Rotson, right?
Yeah. The Rotson was cool.
So the Rotson is powered by an S10 motor with a Power Stroke diesel turbo. You know what I mean?
It's
like
awesome.
That's quintessential All Terrain Outlaws, because
right, absolutely.
We don't care what you do as long as it works, and as long as it works, as long as you're having fun with what you're doing, do it. Can you back up a little bit? No,
right.
Not,
And you know what? Maybe you're doing something and it doesn't work, but you're gonna make it work anyway. I love it. I really like. Deep down in my core, I really, really do wish I had gotten a chance to build a nitrous DSM, just because nobody does that. Nobody builds the NA 4G63. Everybody throws it out and gets a turbocharged 4G63.
Who says you can't do one?
That's what I'm saying. It's I suppose I could buy another DSM. Don't tell my wife.
That's what I'm saying. Like, because I mean, what are the going rates for those right now anyway?
It depends. It all depends on the model year, the setup, and
Well,
You
if you were to buy just a random NA Eclipse, even like first generation, like are they under $2,000?
Uh, that's the thing. It depends on how nice the body is and how low the mileage is. Like they range anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000. It's like it really depends.
Right.
And right now, the average price is four to 6 grand, depending on the quality of the build and everything else. Some guys have, basically mint, never been touched cars that are worth that $9,000-$10,000 price tag, because somehow they made it out of the 90s and the 2000s without anybody putting a front mount intercooler and a crazy exhaust system and a massive turbocharger on it.
They sat in someone's garage. Can you back up?
Right, and then you've got the other cars that have they're rusted to crap, and they're NA, and nobody wants it other than they're like, I guess it's a daily driver. Which is like the attitude that I got when I had the NA DSM, like, oh, so you got a cool daily driver then. I was like,
yeah. Well, no, I'm gonna do stuff with it.
I'm gonna do stuff with it, and they're like, and then they'd be like, oh, so you're gonna put a turbo engine in it? Be like, well, no. I'm gonna put nitrous into the. I'm gonna put some. Oh, well, why would you do that?
Why not?
Well, because nobody else. Camera cat, you're killing me. All I'm looking at is fur. Yeah, why not? Why shouldn't I? Like, what do you mean? Like, it's a cast iron block like that was made for turbocharging. Like, why wouldn't I just dump nitrous into it and call it a day? Like, screw you guys.
It can handle that stuff. It can handle some nitrous. I mean, why would I not try it?
Right.
It's not like It's not like I'm just gonna be dumping it in there.
Right. And it would have been cool to go full sleeper mode on these guys, where like you can't tell that there's a nitrous system in it. It just looks like an NADSM.
Hi.
Just coming to hang out with you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, really, like if I could, like if this is complete and beautiful and exactly how I want it, and I could just put this up on a shelf and leave it for a little bit, I would go out and honestly, I would find a GSX
Get over here.
And I would take the engine out, sell it, and I would find myself an NA4G63, and without anybody noticing, I would put some nitrous into that thing and just be like, no, it's just a front wheel drive NADSM. Don't you want to race me for like $150 or $200? How about $1,000? Let's race for pink slips. Why not? Let's do this. And really, farm truck some people. But
dung beetle.
Do some dung beetling. Like, just a piece of junk. Leave the body all rusty and crap, and just like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
Spray all kinds of nitrous into that thing.
Those are fun when you do stuff like that. Like it's always fun to see. Like there used to be a guy, I want to say at Route 66. If not, it was what was it, US 47 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But or 41. I can't remember offhand.
I think it's 41. That's the Indiana track, right?
Yeah, the one down there in Indiana. Okay. I'm thinking of 47 because isn't that the one out not 47? Isn't that the street out by you?
Maybe.
Can you back up? Anyway, thank you. Go to sleep. Anyway, but there was just a beat up old S10 rolling around, and he had a couple shots of nitrous, and he would just sneak up on people.
Yeah. This would be so much fun.
And then there was, then you go rolling around like Orland Park on 159th on a Friday or Saturday night, and you'd see all sorts of stuff. You'd see all sorts of guys, and then they'd be like, I'm not opening up my hood. You're not going to see what I've got. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh, you're so cool, man.
Well, because there was a guy, he was beating down some of these, SS Camaros with a V6 Camaro and a supercharger.
Yeah, and no one would see it coming.
No one knew. I mean, and it was still all badged up as a V6 Camaro. It was an RS, and it had the RS badging and all this on it.
Right.
And there was no.
For it.
Yeah. So it was fun. It's cool to see stuff like that. people will look at it and it's a V6 Camaro. I don't want that. Well, this guy bought it and put some stuff to it and was beating up on V8s.
Yep.
So.
And that's the kind of stuff it's more fun that way. Like, guys, come on. You don't have to do things the conventional way. You don't have to be, part of the group, like, of, this is the way this car has to be built and this is the way that car has to be built. Like, nothing has to be done. That's the thing about cars, is you can find a car that you like and you can buy it in any configuration you want, and you can, change the configuration to how you want it to be. And
honestly,
it's so much more fun than just going out and buying what, I bought the fast model.
Sometimes it's a better payoff in the long run to know that you have created something that everyone considers slow and have a fun time with it.
Right.
Yeah, it might be slow. It might get beat at every single race, but you're still having fun with it. So that's really all that matters.
Right. It can be so much more rewarding, that you've put your heart and soul into something and you've built something that's different and cool and fun. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be.
It's like what was it? Obviously your favorite person in the world, Matt Farah. He have you seen his what I think they called it Sahara 911? It's like a rally 911 that they build. It's got a little bit of a lift to it. It's got really skinny,
I don't think I've seen it.
It's got really skinny like sand tires on it, and he runs it around, and it's totally different than your average 911. It's got it's got rally lights on the front of it, and it's it's basically an off-road 911.
Right.
And he cruises it around up and down the canyons, and he says it's much more fun in the turns and going up hills and stuff like that than any of the other cars he's ever had.
Right.
And when would you ever think of, hey, you know what? I'm going to throw a lift and bigger tires on, skinny, meaty tires on a 911.
Right. That's just cool. It's just cool to see different stuff. It just really is.
Yeah.
But that's what we're all about here at ATO. So just make sure to share us out and join us and show us you're crazy as we are.
Yeah. I mean, show us what you're working on. We love seeing stuff. I love seeing
Absolutely. But all right, Marty. Well, I think we're about ready to wrap it up here.
Yeah. It's a little over an hour.
So if you're just now tuning in and wanted to see the rest of the video, it'll be up on YouTube tomorrow. So check out the YouTube channel. Check us out on Instagram. And there's a new thing going on. You've got a new thing you messaged me about earlier. There's a new social medias thing going on. I don't understand it. So thing.
I don't understand it either. We're gonna test it out. So we've started making funny little short videos, and so since Vine is no longer around, funny short little videos kind of belong on TikTok now. So we have a TikTok. We'll see how that goes. We'll see how it goes.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, and it's
if
linked to the Instagram.
Make sure to follow us.
Yeah, jump over there. We're gonna be starting to do small little fun stuff like that over there, and we're gonna hopefully have a bunch of content from Rob coming up here on the YouTubes.
It's coming up. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, you're gonna miss out. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're going down again.
Oh no!
It's gonna be fun.
I have Camera Cat, and you have
karate. I got karate chop today. I'm sorry, I don't know, guys.
But yeah, definitely. Like I said, follow us on all the social medias. We're pretty much everywhere. We still need to find someone to do our Twitter. We're just really not good at it. We're just really not good at it.
If you like doing Twitter, hit us up.
Hit us up. We'll talk to you about it. But yeah, so if you want to see us anywhere, we post pretty much daily on all of our stuff. I'll post a bunch of little, kind of sneak peeks on what Rob's working on his car. If we're doing something different, we'll post some sneak peeks. share us some stuff. Share it with your friends so we can see what they're working on, and we'll have fun with it.
All right, guys. Until next week, we'll see you later.
Peace.